Good morning. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist Church, which includes our congregations here in Birmingham, in Tuscaloosa, and all of our folks watching online. My name is Kate Staub, and I am your worship associate for today. Our congregations are served by the Reverend Julie Conradi, who is currently on sabbatical. Reverend Ruth Van Lillian is our sabbatical minister through mid-September, and today our guest speaker is Ryan Cagle. For those in the room, please look at your contact card and fill it out on both sides. When the offering plate comes around, you can put your connection card in there. Today, we are excited to welcome Charles West, who is the son of Garen and Joe West, longtime members. Charles has been on Broadway, and we're going to be hearing his wonderful voice today. It is a pleasure to have him here with us. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are today and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. To all who are here this morning, welcome home. The prelude prepares us for worship.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Rita Cowell. I'm the interim choir director for the summer. Thank you so much. You've been so welcoming to me, and so I thought I would sing before Charles does. It's probably better you hear me first and then him. So thank you. With open hands, we reach to you. Our hearts await to be made new. Peace like the empty skies above us, shining with light. Prayers like our incense rise to greet you day in our night. All we know now will pass away, and love alone will ever stay. Now we behold our grace reflected, darkened and dim. Then we'll see face to face the glory waiting within. So we now seek to understand, to grasp the truth with empty hands. Here we surrender all as children, quietly trust. Now we are all in all together till we are dust.
And now for the lighting of our chalice. I breathe in the warmth of this light, its glow filling the spaces where fear and doubt reside. I breathe out the tension I carry. I release what no longer serves me. I breathe in the strength of our community, a sanctuary of shared purpose. I breathe out the urge to do it alone. I embrace the power of togetherness. I breathe in the courage to speak truth even when it trembles. I breathe out the silence that holds me back. I make space for honesty and justice. I breathe in the hope of transformation, knowing we are here to build and to heal. I breathe out despair, trusting that change is born in small acts of love. As we light this chalice, may each of us breathe and remember the sacred rhythm of life, the pulse of creation, and the power we hold together to shape the world around us. And now, in the spirit of community, please greet those around you, and then in about 2 minutes, we'll sing our opening hymn together. Folks online, please introduce yourself in our chat.
Just like, did she like it?
Our win is in.
You can buy vegan. They won't. So I'm going to ask them to put a splash of soy sauce and a splash of red.
Yeah, so Worcestershire has fish, but soy sauce doesn't.
No. Soy sauce.
I may have a look.
So,
And I have only been to that restaurant once. It's been years ago.
well, I went to happy hour in Florida and Diner County. And then Andy and I did a wine club.
Yes, I remember
But I
that. I just love it. And it is so good.
Our morning song today is number 65 in this book, right here, The Sweet June Days. The sweet June days are come again once more. The glad earth yields its golden watch of ripening grain and breath of clover fields, and evening shade of summer woods and glow of summer air, and ringing thoughts and happy moods of love and joy and prayer. The sweet June days are come again, the birds are on the wing, bright anthems in their merry strain, unconsciously they sing. Oh, how a cup brims with good these happy summer days, for all the joys of field and wood we lift a song of praise.
Good morning. I'm Helen Rivas, member of the Justice Committee, and I was going to talk about immigration this morning, but last night's events changed the topic. And I don't know, do you all feel like we're playing whack-a-mole? Every time you turn around, something else pops up. They have flooded the zone, as Steve Bannon said, for sure. One thing about immigration, Migra Watch, M-I-G-R-A Watch, has a hotline. If you see something that looks like ICE action, please call and report it with as much detail as you can. They then verify it so that rumors don't get spread unnecessarily. And also the Alabama Coalition for Immigrant Justice, ACIJ.org, has a set of resources, and a very nice Know Your Rights card that you can download in English, Spanish, or Haitian Creole. Anyway, there's plenty of news and you're getting plenty of opinions from people about what's going on. The UUA did do a press release, and part of what they said was the Unitarian Universalist Association condemns U.S. military involvement in the expanding conflict between Israel and Iran. The involvement of the United States will only escalate a deepening crisis of war in the region, lead to an even greater loss of life, and prevent diplomatic resolution to the region's geopolitical challenges. The action by the U.S. government represents a moral failure, and Unitarian Universalists are compelled through our religious beliefs to speak out against it. In the 2010 resolution, it was stated, we repute aggressive and preventive wars, the disproportionate use of force, covert wars, and targeting that includes a high risk to civilians. We affirm a responsibility to speak truth to power, especially when unjust power is exercised by our own nation. So there's been strong post-bombing rhetoric about the events from the administration, but there's no evidence cited yet about what really happened or went on. So we'll have to wait for that. And meanwhile, let's give a little backbone to our elected officials. Keep up the calls, the letters about this and anything else. They do help. And keep taking your vitamins.
Good morning. I am Julie Nicholson Morgan, president of the board. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better.
If this is your first time with us, please pass the plate. We are just glad that you're here. We share a cash plate every Sunday with the organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today, we are sharing our plate with Greater Birmingham Ministries. GBM was founded in 1969 in response to urgent human and justice needs in the Greater Birmingham area. GBM is a multi-faith, multiracial organization that provides emergency services for people in need and engages the poor and the non-poor in systemic change efforts to build a strong, supportive, engaged community and pursue a more just society for all people. We appreciate your donations and accept the forms of payment found in your order of service. Thank you for your generous support of our church and Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
Good morning, UU family. Very grateful to be here today. Thank you. Where there's hate, give me love, and where there's pride, make me be humble, and where there's pain, don't let me feel resentment deep inside. I want you to make it right. So replace it with your love in my heart. Replace it with your love in my heart. Just take out all the hatred and cleanse every part, and replace it with your love in my heart. When I'm tired, lift me up, and when I'm weak, don't let me falter. But if I fall, don't let me harbor bitterness inside. I want you to take it out. So replace it with your love in my heart. Replace it with your love in my heart. Just take out all the hatred and cleanse every part, and replace it with your love in my heart. Lord, I'm just a man who wants to be like you, living in your perfect love in everything I do. So now I'm yielding all to you, to take out every wrong I feel inside, and replace it with your love in my heart. Oh, replace it with your love in my heart. Just take out all the hatred and cleanse every part, and replace it with your love in my heart. and replace it with your love in my heart.
Thank you so much, Charles. Now is that time in our community where we share what we carry with us on this day, joy or sorrow. For those of you watching online, you're invited to share your joys and sorrows in the chat and lift each other up by placing parentheses around one another's names. For those of you in person, you are invited to come forward and drop a stone in the water in honor or memory of what is on your heart today. Please come forward.
Please join with me in the spirit of prayer and meditation as I offer a reading from Thomas Merton's New Seeds of Contemplation. As long as we are on the earth, the love that unites us will bring us suffering by our very contact with one another. Because this love is the resetting of a body of broken bones. Even saints cannot live on this earth without some anguish, without some pain at the difference that comes between them. Hatred recoils from the sacrifice and sorrow that are the price of the resetting of bones. It refuses the pain of reunion. It identifies the agony with others whose presence cause agony in us by reminding us of our disunion. Hatred tries to cure disunion by annihilating those who are not united with us. It seeks peace by the elimination of everybody but ourselves. But love, by its acceptance of pain, of reunion, begins to heal all wounds. May we be reunited. Amen.
Good morning. Can you hear me? You can? Okay, good. All right, so will the children or whoever feels young at heart today please come forward? Hello. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to do something we've done before because we are so good at it, and that is, and all you grown-ups out there, please do this too. It doesn't work if we don't all do it. We're going to create silence for 11 seconds. Are we ready? Okay, on our marks, get set, go. Bravo. Once upon a time, long, long ago, before humans knew how to make fire, when the sun went down, when that big fire in the sky set, it was dark. And on the summer solstice, there were some women gathered together making clay pots. And when the sun went down, they had to stop their work because they couldn't see anymore. And one of them said, "Wouldn't it be nice if there was a tiny sun that we could hold or have near us and we could continue our work in the dark?" And the other woman said, "Yes, wouldn't that be a great gift?" Well, they were sitting under a great oak tree, and in that oak tree was a firebird. And she heard the women talking, and she said, "I have the gift you seek, but I can only give it to someone who will use it for good. Meet me here tomorrow with all of your people, and I will tell you more about this gift." So the women went home, and they told their husbands and their children and their friends and their neighbors, and the next morning, everyone gathered around the great tree, and there was the firebird. And she was golden with fire coming out of her tail feathers. And she said to the people, "This is a great and mighty gift, and I can only give it to someone who will use it for good." And she flew off. Well, everyone started running after her because they wanted this great gift. They wanted the fire. Well, soon she flew way up a mountain, and the little people and the older people, like me, got tired and said, "I suppose this gift is not for me." But the warriors kept running and running, and one of them almost caught a tail feather, and he said, "Give me this gift. I want to be chief." And the Firebird said, "Oh, this gift is not for you. You're too selfish." And he dropped away. Well, the next warrior said, "Give it to me. I want to show my father how strong I am." And the Firebird said, "I cannot give it to you. You are too selfish." Well, he dropped away, and the Firebird, she got tired, and she lighted in another tree. Whew, she was catching her breath and fixing her feathers, and she looked down, and there was a girl with really pretty purple glasses cradling an old woman's head in her arms. And she could tell that the old woman was shivering. And the Firebird said to the girl, Go get a stick, and you can light it on my tail, and I will keep your friend warm." And the girl looked up and she said, "Oh, thank you. Ooh, you are very beautiful, but I cannot leave my friend." And the Firebird said, "Oh, please, I will watch after her. I promise you, I have what you need to keep her warm. Please go. I promise I won't let anything happen to your friend." And the girl said, "You really promise?" "I really promise." So the girl gently laid her friend's head down and went and got a stick and held it up to the bird's tail. Caught fire. Well, she gathered some other sticks and made a fire and went back to holding her friend's head. And soon her friend was warm and stopped shivering and was well enough to walk home. The Firebird said, "I have given you a great gift. Now take it back to the people and tell them." So the girl came back with the burning stick, and she gathered the people like us into a big circle, and she said, "The Firebird has given this to me to share with you, as long as we promise to use it for good." Do we promise? Do we really promise? Do we cross our hearts? Do we raise our hands to receive the gift? And the Firebird lit all the gifts, and to this day, these people use it for good, thanks to the Firebird and the girl who showed love. Okay, thank you for being such good listeners. All right, please sing us downstairs.
Be kind in all you do. 3, we help each other learn. 4, have searched for what is true. 5, all people get involved. 6, build a just world. 7, we take care of the earth. That will bring us back to me and you.
Our guest speaker today is Ryan Cagle. All right, well, our guest speaker today is Ryan Cagle. He has spent much of his life in the pulpit, and many of you know him for his local political presence and activism. He was recently ordained by the Disciples
Disciples of Christ.
of Christ. And this is his first time speaking at UUCB, so please join me in welcoming Ryan to the pulpit.
Good morning. It's good. I'm not going to know what to do with my hands. This pulpit is interesting. I'm going to just keep them. I'm probably going to do all kinds of things. So I have to admit, I guess I am a little nervous because, again, this is the first time I've ever spoken at a UU church. But even more so just because this is really out of my context, not necessarily being around people who don't share my faith, but just being in sanctuaries or cathedrals built by human hands. I spend most of my time in the woods or in the garden, talking and preaching to sweet potatoes more than I do anything else. Rev Julie asked me months ago to sign up, and while she was on sabbatical, and I'll be honest, I was just a little bit hesitant. I've been preaching since I was 15. In the Pentecostal tradition, they throw you to the wolves real early. Sorry, there's a bad, it's reverberating real bad up here. But, so I'm usually, again, even though I've been preaching for a long time, it's something that I've kind of eased out of. The tradition and the community that I pastor doesn't really do sermons, even though I came up in a very sermon-heavy tradition. And so I was really just thinking a lot about today and what true word I would speak in this context that is much different from my own. Because for better or worse, I am a Christian, and despite my many attempts to become more fluent in other spiritual languages, I still tend to fall into that register, my native tongue. That said, before we get started, I guess just a little bit about myself. I'm Ryan Cagle. I'm a lot of different things depending on who you ask on any given day, but pretty simply, I'm just some redneck from the foothills of Appalachia, about 45 minutes west of here. But at my core, I'm someone who found myself overtaken by a love that I've spent 20-something years trying to understand, to little to no avail so far. I'm a student of blackberry brambles and the Black Warrior River watershed, from whom rivers of living waters flow abundantly in my community. And I work to cultivate an anti-capitalist, spiritual-ish community called Jubilee House that runs a 24/7 pantry, builds resilient food systems, and opened the state's first 24/7 Narcan distribution site. Thank you. Yeah. Harm reduction's resurrection work, and I tend to try to be in that business. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm Pentecostal. I still claim that, even though the Pentecostal church wouldn't claim me. So I need to give you a little heads up. I like the Bible a whole lot, and I know that, well, I also don't like the Bible a whole lot, and so I'm sure here there might be some shared sentiments. I came to faith again with kind of a pretty obsessive preoccupation with our sacred text as a 13-year-old, but probably shouldn't have spent so much time in the book of Revelation at that age. But before you get concerned, I'm not preaching from the book of Revelation. Despite my persistent fascination with it, I love a good apocalypse. If I had to guess, again, I would say that there's fair to maybe assume, forgive me if I'm wrong, that we're kind of all probably on a scale here of no relation to Christian sacred texts to bad relationships with Christian sacred texts, and somewhere everything in between. And that's totally fine. I'm not here to sell you on them. I'm not sold on them often. I don't blame anyone for not being too keen on Christianity or our sacred texts, much less how they've been used, and much less texts like the book of Revelation that is brimming with monsters. And has been used for monstrous ends in our world, along with many other texts in my tradition. Many Christians, progressive Christians, don't like the book of Revelation because of its perceived violence. But truthfully, if we were being honest, we wouldn't have to flip very far in any direction in our Bibles to encounter texts that disturb and unsettle us. We tend to just ignore, at least in progressive Christian circles. These are texts of terror, as biblical scholar Phyllis Tribble calls them. They often elicit reactions of disgust and dismay in the face of a slew of paradoxical depictions of God. It is here in these waters of Scripture that so many become storm-tossed and seasick. It is here that we see a rotten fruit born in our world even this weekend, as the name of the God in my tradition and the texts are used to justify atrocities and monstrosities here and the world over. But these are the maps that I inherited as a Christian, and these are the ways that I've learned to navigate the world. And I still believe that there's wisdom in them. But speaking of maps, I don't know if you know this. I'm weird about maps. I'm a nerd about it. But did you know when they were making old maps of the old world before most of us got here, I'm sure, through colonialism, these ancient cartographers, they would depict monstrous images. I don't know if you've ever seen old maps. They would just be monsters on the peripheral of the maps, often accompanied by the phrase, "Beware, here there be monsters." This designation was given to obscure places on these maps to show sailors that these areas were completely unknown, and that what awaited them in these uncharted waters was nothing but danger. These were deep waters full of terrible creatures, at least according to the cartographers. They must be avoided at all cost, ignored. Like these ancient maps, we, in our traditions, use hermeneutical markers to help us navigate our own traditions, the own deep waters of where we've come from. the traditions and stories we've all inherited. Well, I can't, again, speak authoritatively beyond my tradition, but here among the poems and prophecies and myths of my own inherited sacred text lurk monstrous depictions of divinity that are unsettling. And, there seems to be, at least within the lives of the UU folks who I call friends, a propensity for navigating these waters of many traditions and practices and text with an openness to being surprised. And so today I humbly ask that you would wade into these waters with me, even though here be monsters. While it's easy to avoid the depths of our traditions, one of the texts I wanted to turn to, and it's going to kind of be weird for me to preach a sermon without reading scripture, but the book of Jonah, have y'all heard about that book in the Hebrew prophets? Maybe. There's a well, there's all kinds of drama, if you don't, it's okay. Spark Notes is that the whole text, in this text, God tells Jonah to go out and cry out against the people of Nineveh in judgment, to condemn them in their wickedness, and he doesn't want to do it. At first, it seems that Jonah hates the people of Nineveh so much that he doesn't even want to waste his breath condemning them. That's not a problem I tend to have. But when we listen closely and we read this text more carefully, which we're not doing this morning, and I encourage you to do on your own, it seems as if Jonah knows there's actually something more going on. The deep in God calls out to the deep in Jonah, and he runs away only to get cast into the depths of the ocean and swallowed whole, so to speak, by a sea monster, a whale, maybe. Only to be spat back up on the shores of Nineveh to at last deliver the terrible news of their coming destruction. And what do they do when they hear Jonah's reluctant proclamation of impending doom? They repent in sackcloth and ashes. They completely change their ways. And Jonah is not happy about it. He's mad. He tells us exactly why. Because Jonah goes on to say that he avoided coming to speak these words of terror because deep down he knew that it was all a divine ruse. Angrily, Jonah yells at God, quoting God's own self-disclosure from the prophet Moses in the Exodus tradition of chapter 34. I knew that you are gracious and merciful God, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and that you will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and fourth generation. But that's not actually what Jonah says when he quotes that verse. When he turns and repeats the words of Moses and the tradition that he was handed, and again, I think Jonah growing up hearing this verse over and over and over, he doesn't say that, at least the last part. Jonah seemed to know better. Jonah quotes Exodus, but the ending is different. He does not mention God's unyielding judgment, but instead says, I know that you are gracious and merciful, slow to anger, abounding in steadfast love, and relenting from punishment. He completely drops the ending and changes it completely, and he's mad about it. In the story of Jonah, a text of terror becomes a terrible, unrelenting love as the God who we are told by the Exodus tradition that holds generations guilty for their sins is actually revealed to be a God who relents from punishment, even relenting from punishing the very people we think deserve it. I know we are thick in seafaring metaphors, but humor me. I'm sure some people here have been on a cruise. I have not. You would not catch me dead on a boat out in the ocean. But they have these things called excursions, and so we've made a brief excursion in Nineveh. And if you will, just humor me and bear with me as we leave behind the monstrous waters of Nineveh and a seasick whale to briefly set anchor among the people of Nineveh in the Gospel of Luke. A little backstory, in Luke chapter 4, Jesus delivers what we assume is his first sermon, at least the first recorded sermon by this author. This is a sermon he preached in his hometown among his friends and family, and by this I mean for Jesus, these are clearly familiar waters. These are his people. These are his neighbors. But it's important to note that if we had continued to read on down in the chapter, we would have learned that familiarity with the depths does not necessarily mean that they're somehow free of monsters. Sometimes they're in our own backyards, not just in our sacred text. While it's clear that Jesus' first sermon had quite the impact, I'm not sure it would by anyone's standards be considered a good sermon. Jesus shows up to his hometown synagogue. He gets handed the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. He opens it up and he reads it like a jazz musician reads sheet music. And then he proceeds to walk back into the crowd, sit down, and boldly let everyone know that they have somehow witnessed the fulfillment of these words. While I like a short and sweet sermon as much as the next churchgoer, anxious, to get on with my Sunday mornings, I'm not sure I would be any less perplexed than those that were in Jesus' hometown that day. Because again, turning towards the text, a closer reading is that it's not that people were just perplexed that he said that it was fulfilled. Because just a few verses earlier, the Gospel of Luke tells us that these people were so offended by this strange sermon that they went on to try to throw Jesus off a cliff, which, like Jonah being thrown overboard, is an interesting parallel, but probably a little worse than getting thrown into the ocean. While we were in Nineveh, the prophet Jonah taught us what it means to wade into, even somewhat reluctantly, to uncharted and monstrous depths of our traditions. And allowed the text to confound us with a love capable of producing radical transformation. There, in the belly of grace, monsters lurk in our traditions, hearts, and even among those we hate. And we are challenged and changed as we discover mercy and not monstrosities lurking in these so-called texts of terror and the traditions we've inherited. As a kid, I loved maps, even when I couldn't quite read them. When I was in 5th grade or so, I taught myself to read topographic maps and would draw on them, creating weird little worlds to explore in my community. My dad was the head over the water authority, so he just had all these maps everywhere, trying to trace out where these old water lines were. Similarly, art historians have noted that ancient cartographers not only routinely filled their maps with monsters, but also tried to leave as little blank space as possible. Even if it meant drawing in non-existent mountains, islands, continents, or even mythical cities like Atlantis. Historians have noted this is called the horror vacui. This is the fear of empty spaces. While potential motivations for such a practice are myriad, historians have noted that the most likely explanation is simply the fear of the unknown. While I am sure that some cartographers may have legitimately believed in Atlantis, it seems that the need to fill in the blank spaces functioned not only as a way to provide a sense of legitimacy to their work and ensure their maps were more marketable in a time of oceanic intrigue, but also to paint a grotesque picture of people and cultures unknown to their own people. As time progressed and people became more knowledgeable of our world, we learned that many such maps were not accurate at all, and that the places, the people, and the monsters they described were actually nothing more than manifestations of the fear of the unknown. Turning our attention back to the Gospel of Luke, while in Nazareth, Jesus is handed, again, it's one such ancient map from the prophet Isaiah. And he takes a good long look at it and decides that reading this text faithfully in this moment means being able to recognize where he and Isaiah differ. Maybe he thinks Isaiah got something wrong. Maybe he learned from Jonah. Jonah misquotes Moses, intentionally it seems, and so Jesus must have learned something again from Jonah, because he did not simply read from the scroll of Isaiah 61 and make his claim of fulfillment, but instead actively edited the text in real time. Reaching into the depths of the prophet's words to draw out a true and transformative word, Jesus takes the verse, set free those who are oppressed, from an entirely different chapter of Isaiah, and weaves it into the text that he was reading that morning effortlessly. But it's not even the most scandalous part, because as Jesus is reading Isaiah's proclamation of the year of Jubilee, or the year of the Lord's favor, he does something completely unexpected. He stops mid-sentence and rolls up the scroll, something that I imagine is the first century equivalent of a mic drop, and sits down. See, the prophet Isaiah actually goes on to say that the day of the Lord's favor is the day of vengeance of our God. But Jesus, being the skilled cartographer that he is, omits these words completely and redraws the map. No longer is the day of the Lord's favor to be understood as a day of vengeance. Jesus is functionally telling the people of Nazareth that I know the map handed down to us by the prophet Isaiah says, beware, here there be monsters. But the truth of the matter is, actually it should be, beware, here be mercy, even for those whom we think are outside the grace of God. Jesus' first sermon may have not been a good sermon by conventional standards, but is one that teaches us that we must not be afraid of these monstrous waters and the maps we've inherited. I think that's something probably the UU tradition is pretty good at. Often must be redrawn for the sake of those who've been deemed, like Nineveh, beyond the borders of grace and transformation. Now more than ever, we are living in monstrous times. I can't help but think this is what made Jesus' sermon so offensive to the people of his hometown. Not only did he say the prophet Isaiah maybe got something wrong, but all those people that his friends, family, and neighbors believed deserved judgment were actually captives that were going to be made free as well. Over there, maybe even people in our hometowns, it's easy in this current very divided moment in our world, particularly here, if you are even moderately progressive in Alabama, to see so many people in your communities, your hometowns, your neighborhoods, as putting forward monstrous political worldviews. They're damaging and harmful. But the challenge of grace is ever present. We might not want grace and mercy for those whom we have deemed outside the boundaries of our well-crafted cartographies, but love will have nothing of it. I believe that Jesus here shows us that true love will have nothing of the sort for the people of his hometown, from the prophet Isaiah, and not from us. So instead, we must, by engaging with these texts and our traditions, the things we've inherited, the maps we've been given, be willing to, as Rene Girard once said, do violence to the text so that it can no longer do violence to others. This is the call to transgress the boundaries of the unknown and to wade in the dark and murky depths of our world in sacred traditions and draw new cartographies that lead us to lives marked by loving our enemies, turning the other cheek, healing the sick, setting the captives free, and liberating the poor, and seeing resurrection in the face of so much death and destruction. In a world overrun by monsters, we must choose mercy. We must not ourselves become monsters. This is what it means to choose love in the midst of these monstrous times. And so the question remains for me, persistently, in the backwoods of Appalachia, where I live, will we continue to avoid the people in our lives that we believe are beyond grace and mercy? Or will we, like Jonah, allow ourselves to be transformed in the dangerous depths of love for all that which we call the unknown? Here in the world, there be monsters, beloved, but may you be swallowed whole in the belly of grace and learn to love those whom it is difficult, to show mercy to those whom are not merciful. May we go forth knowing that through us, though we live in monstrous times, a love whose boundaries of grace are ever widening goes with us. Amen.
Is it on? Oh, there we go. All right, so our closing song then is This Little Light of Mine, number 118. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
almost made it to the end of the service. Visitors and friends, please fill out your connection card, as I mentioned. Also, please just review your order of service. You'll find all of our most relevant announcements here. Even more announcements that can't fit in this order of service are available in the All Church email that is sent out every Thursday. If you're not receiving the All Church email, you can use your connection card to provide your email, and we'll get you on that list. Wanted to remind everyone that we have the silent art auction going on right now. So if you're here in person, everything on the wall is art that is available for purchase. It was donated by members of this church. There's a book in the back where you can bid, and all of the proceeds will go to the church. So it's an awesome fundraiser that runs, I think, for another week or two. Please participate if you can. Oh, and there's a cash and carry box as well where you can, there's art that's available for purchase that you can take away straight with you. And then, let's see. Oh, summer camp is starting soon. I think the deadline to register is the 30th. There's more details in the order of service, but if you're interested in having your kids participate in UU summer camp, please sign up using the QR code or contact someone in RE like Courtney or Amethyst, and they will help you out. And now we'll extinguish our chalice. As we end our time together today, may we depart this sacred space, knowing that blessings will follow us all the days of our lives if we extend grace and forgiveness to ourselves and to others, if we behold mercy as a spiritual superpower, if we imitate the greater love that holds us close. May our lives radiate the blessings that we have been given. May kindness and compassion fall gently from us. May there be peace in the world, and may it begin here with us.
In a far-off land, there lived a beautiful butterfly in a kingdom full of blossom-covered trees. And winding through this paradise, a river danced along and played with the constant summer breeze. The butterfly found a tiny branch at the riverside and watched the water rushing who knows where. Carefully he sheltered from the power of the breeze, for surely it would toss him through the air. I'm a butterfly, he said, trivial and small, and in the greater scheme of things, I don't mean much at all. So I'll stretch myself to flap my wings and just enjoy the view. I'm a butterfly, what more could I do? One afternoon, the butterfly asked the river, Madam, what makes you hurry so? What splendid destination are you rippling toward? Where, oh, where do you go? The river said, I'm headed toward the ocean, and the summer breeze inspires me to race. My friend, you'd love the ocean. It's remarkable to see won't you join our friendly chase? I'm a butterfly, he said, trivial and small, and in the greater scheme of things, I don't mean much at all. So I'll stretch my wings to stretch myself and just enjoy the view. I'm a butterfly, what more could I do? So the butterfly, he dreamed of the ocean. He longed to flutter high above the seas. But there are dangers in the sky for a tiny butterfly. So from his branch, he asked a question of the breeze. What makes you chase the river toward the ocean? Then the breeze told him a most amazing thing. I'm simply made up of the currents in the air that start from the movement of your wing. Your tiny wing. You're a butterfly, my friend, powerful and strong, and I'm grateful for the way you've always hurried me along. When you stretch yourself to spread your wings, it might seem small to you, but you change the world with everything you do. So he stretched his wings and took off from the safety of his tree. And that butterfly finally saw the sea. Thank you. You and Shang, please. You and... Test, test, test. Test, 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 test.